Welcome to the Health Channel, all health, all the time. I'm Kathy Buccio, coming to you from the Baptist Health South Florida studios in Coral Gables. What happens when life gets in the way of your eating? Are you living a fast-paced life without time to eat, let alone cook? Are you skipping meals or eating at strange hours of the day or night? Well, joining us today to talk about some practical meal ideas for people with fast-paced lives are Kathy Clark Reyes and Natasha Borrajo, registered dietitian at Baptist Health South Florida. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
I'm seeing the display here, and I'm eager to jump into that and jump into our discussion. So at one point or another, I think we've all been guilty of having bad eating habits. So how often have you heard patients say, life got in the way, I didn't have time to eat, I don't have time to cook? What do you tell your patients?
I think we're all stressed. I think we all have.
Let's start with
just a little bit. We're all stressed, and the more you talk to people, the more you realize everybody has a story. Everybody's stressed out about something. Everybody's rushing here, rushing there, trying to get the kids and work and this and that. You know, our life is very fast-paced.
Right.
And as a result, people's eating habits suffer. We tend to skip meals. We tend to forget snacks.
Yeah,
What
absolutely.
do you think?
I mean, you know, my biggest thing when it comes to trying to eat healthy is I need to grocery shop. There's just one thing that I need to be able to do, so at least I have things handy. And then that will make things easier. You know, I'm traveling, something quick to throw in my purse,
Right.
so I can keep trying to make good choices throughout the day.
And one of the things you always hear is never go to the grocery store hungry.
Never. No.
It's
like a
true.
demon.
Yes, absolutely.
You have to go with your list to prepare of all the healthy foods that you want to buy, because if not, you just overbuy and you buy things that aren't necessarily healthy.
Yep.
Absolutely. Planning to go to the grocery store is actually a healthy habit in the sense that at least you have a game plan, right? You're
Right.
not wasting time, and then going to the grocery store, you know, takes 2-3 hours. You go in, you get what you need, you come out, and you're ready to go to, you know, do whatever else is on the agenda for the day.
And there's less impulse buying. When
Less
you've planned
impulse
out
buying.
and you've had a list to work with.
Absolutely. Now, let's get back to the basics. What should we be eating every day?
Every day, let's see. You want to make sure you're getting in your fruits, your vegetables,
Right.
your whole grains, and then you want to make sure that you're getting your sources of protein, dairy. So you want to make sure you're having a balanced diet, and if you follow my plate, that'll ensure that you're getting everything you need. You
This is such a helpful graphic, by the
Yeah.
way, the
Yeah.
Baptist My Plate. This is what should be on your plate.
I love that it does half the plate with veggies, and sometimes you can't get all of that in one meal. You
Right.
may not have the fruit at the end, but that's okay. You can always supplement your meal with a snack later. And that's one misconception that people have. They're hungry, they're tired, and they say, let me just grab a bag of potato chips, or let me just grab the sweet, you know, from the office, the muffin from the office or whatnot. But a snack is meant to be what your meal was not able to provide you with.
Right.
Right.
One of the things that you were mentioning, we were talking about off camera, which I found really interesting and true, is that often we get home from work and that's when you eat because you're hungry and you grab what's quick. And that's when we do the most damage. Why?
Well, it
You
could
want
be it could be a combination of things. Either, you know, the long periods of time without eating,
Right.
which kind of lead to the hunger and the stress and the hangry we kind of mentioned before.
Hangry is real, everyone. The Baptist
absolutely
dietitians
is.
agree. Hangry is a real thing.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, you know, when I see patients in consultations where their lunch might be at noon and they're not traveling with a snack, they're not taking something with them, I tell them, no, one of the first things we need to try to implement is take something with you, something that you threw in your purse. Maybe something like a quick, you know, protein bar or
Right.
a cereal bar that's well balanced and isn't just one nutrient. You know, one of the misconceptions is that, oh, this is all protein. No, look for something that has a balance. The carbohydrate's going to be satisfying, keeping you, you know, happy. The protein's going to be filling. So you're able to bridge those gaps and have it before you get to the house.
Right.
So that, you know, you're having it in the car, it's no big deal. Or if you can, you mindfully have it, you know, while you're still at work. But if not, try to eat something even before you walk in that door, because if not, it can be no holds bar.
I want to jump right into that, Kathy and Natasha. Let's talk about some great options that are healthy, like you said, something we can keep in our purse, and maybe not get that candy bar or not that Mojo donut that's waiting for us outside. So what are some healthy snacks that we should be eating?
Well, what I like to find with snacks is something that's going to be balanced, something that's
Right.
going to keep me satisfied, not something that I'm going to be hungry in an hour. There's lots of those little 100-calorie packs and this and that, and people think that they're healthier, but they're really just a smaller portion.
And you think
But-
about it, you're going to eat like 3 of those because
Exactly.
it doesn't fill you.
Exactly. And the last thing you want is to get a snack that's going to leave you hungry in 45 minutes or an hour, and then what are you going to grab? another one.
Another
You
one.
know, so having something that's going to be filling is going to be good. What foods fill us? If we can have something that's got a little bit of fiber, even a little bit of the healthy fats, that's going to stay in that gut a little bit longer.
Absolutely.
So it's not going to empty out so quickly. So here we've got things such as, we've got the veggies, we're pairing that with some olives, which is a healthy fat. Or
And
you
they
can
sell
do-
these, you know, I
They
have to
do.
tell you.
Absolutely, yeah.
This came in a container.
Yes, this comes in a container. My 6-year-old loves these, and I actually pack them for school, the black olives, little snacks, and they make great snacks.
Yep.
Okay.
The same thing goes with the guac as well as with the hummus, and you can use it as a dip for your veggies, not with the pita chips that are, we know they're highly addictive.
Use carrots and celery.
Carrots, celery, but not just that. I mean, you can use cucumbers, you can use the radishes, you can use the little cherry tomatoes.
Absolutely.
The red peppers, the yellow peppers, those sweet
Right.
peppers go great with the
Yes.
hummus.
Yes.
That's a great combination. I like that.
Yeah. And so having a snack like that, something like, you know, this is the nut bars. They're not loaded with sugar. They've got the nuts, which make you feel fuller for a little bit longer. And especially sometimes at 3 o'clock that we like that little sweet treat. It's got that little drizzle of the dark chocolate.
chocolate.
I
to
know.
keep
You get that,
going.
that dark chocolate fix. I like
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah. But what ends up happening, you know, to Natasha's point, is we get home from work. We are tired from a long day. We are stressed out. If you have children, you can't just come home and relax and put your feet up. When you come home, it's a whole nother job.
Right.
You've got the homework and the kids and the sports and this and that, and you're Ubering and, you know, driving around your kids all over the place.
Right.
So it's not like we can just come home and relax.
Right.
At that point, that's where day shift meets night shift, you know, and it's like we're rolling into a whole nother, you know, job. So at that point, that's where biological hunger and emotional hunger kind of meet and mesh. We're hungry from the day, we gotta cook, but at the same time, we're emotionally hungry. You know, we're hungry for a little stress relief. And so it's really important to determine what kind of hungry we are.
Right, we have to figure that out first.
Yes.
Right.
And now for quick dishes, for people that have those fast-paced lives, tell us why you brought the muffin tin. And I'm staring at it and I'm looking at it because there's a purpose to this.
Absolutely. So why we have this muffin tin is that it's a great way to kind of meal prep. So, you know, I don't have a lot of time. This is easy peasy. And you know what? I love telling my patients, you know, grab and go vegetables. So you can get already the diced up onions and peppers and tomatoes. You throw them in your muffin tin. You crack a couple of eggs, scramble them up, pour them over 30 minutes, 300 degrees in the oven.
Wow.
So while that's cooking, maybe you're putting away the rest of your groceries. Sometimes I'm cooking while I'm still unpacking my groceries. So, you know, one thing is happening while I'm finishing up another. So it doesn't have to be complicated. It's okay to get something like this. Obviously, when you have the time to prep and dice,
Right,
beautiful.
but if the work is done for you, that's my kind of...
Absolutely. I tell my patients a lot, listen, we either pay with our time, we pay with our money, or we pay with our health. I don't mind paying with my time and money. I'm not paying with my health.
Natasha, that's right. I like to pay with my money too. And you brought the parchment paper, and
Yes.
you're going to teach us how to make some fancy fish.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Fancy, inexpensive, and good.
Okay, so how do we make fish parchment paper at home quickly?
Quickly, you take your parchment paper, you cut up a piece about this size, drizzle maybe a little bit of olive oil in there. You put your fish in, and then whatever toppings you want to put on top.
Okay.
If you want to put a little bit of just the basic, a pinch of salt, a little bit of pepper, or you can get a little bit more creative with spices, and then
You can even put some of what Natasha brought there.
Absolutely.
absolutely. We're gonna pour this over. All right. You can put in other vegetables. You can put in broccoli. You can put, you know, preferably something that cooks quickly, and then we can garnish it. And then what you do here is you fold it.
Make a little pouch.
You
I
make a
hope my
little
husband
pouch.
is watching this. This
Make
might be
this
dinner tonight.
You make this little pouch. All right. You can put it in the oven, maybe at about 350.
Okay.
You seal up the pouch. What it's going to do is it's going to cook in there with the juices.
Right.
All right. And then from there, you put this in the oven, probably about 7 minutes, depending on the
7 minutes in the oven.
Depending on the thickness
Okay.
of the fish. So if you have a very thin fish, maybe within about 5 minutes it's done. If it's a little thicker, about 7. And then once it's done, it comes out of the oven. It looks super fancy. It looks like you spent all day doing this. And then all you do is just cut it open and voila.
A quick, easy, healthy meal for dinner.
Absolutely. In 5 minutes.
I absolutely love that. And one thing that you brought as well, zoodles. I love the zoodles.
Yes.
Can you introduce our viewers to zoodles?
Absolutely. You want to?
Absolutely. So we have a little plate of here of, what we call our vegetable pasta, real vegetable pasta, meaning these were actual zucchinis that we turned into noodles, right?
Right.
And these are so easy to prepare. You seriously can just saute them. You can actually even put them right in here in the pouch.
Right.
And it's almost like you've got a pasta, but you're actually having a vegetable. So you can...
This is a great alternative to a pasta, right, Natasha?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So sometimes, I've got a hungry husband at home, and sometimes what I'll do is I'll actually mix the two together. You want your noodle, your actual pasta, I'll actually mix it together, and sometimes depending on the type of noodle I got, he won't even know what's what. So, sometimes it's quick and easy to infuse let's say maybe a carb-heavy meal with some fiber-rich vegetables.
Absolutely. And moving on to vegetables, Kathy, again, instead of the parchment paper, we're cooking our vegetables in aluminum foil.
Yes.
How do we do that quickly?
Well, take advantage of the grill.
Yeah.
Okay.
We love to barbecue, and people like to meal prep, but that can get a little bit, intensive at times. So what I like to do is take the aluminum foil and create like a pouch.
Okay.
And put in different vegetables. And you can even make 2 or 3 different pouches so that you have 2 or 3 different nights worth of food. And the best part about it is there's no cleanup.
Now, is there a difference in just putting the vegetables on the grill as opposed to putting them in aluminum, or they cook more, or?
It makes it easier, I think. You can put it directly on the grill. I think this just makes it easier and neater so that you can just pull it out, cover them up, and you can have them tomorrow or whenever you're going to have them. And it doesn't require a lot of seasoning. It doesn't require a whole lot. Usually just a drizzle of olive oil, minimal seasonings, and it's done quickly. And the good part about it is that it can all be done outside on the barbecue while you cook the meat. So everything is being cooked all at once.
All at once, and it's healthy.
It's
Keep
healthy.
emphasizing that.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so here's the important question. How often should we be eating? I've heard every 3 hours, every 4. Is that true?
Well, it really depends on the lifestyle, in my opinion. So, for instance, I'm not a huge breakfast person. I'm not going to have a big meal at breakfast. It might be a little bit more something grab and go. I guess that's my style. So I know that lunch will need to be shortly after, maybe 3 hours or so. You don't want to go more than 5-6 hours without eating because, again, that leads to the hunger, the hangry, and that's what we're trying to avoid. Absolutely.
So dependent on lifestyle.
Yes.
So skipping meals, I know we were talking about this off camera. Skipping meals is not favorable.
Right. The longer you spend without eating, like we said before, first you get hungry and then you get hangry. When we get hangry, our food decisions start to deteriorate.
Right.
We go from, let me have a salad to, I want a big burger with fries and a Coke.
Right. And then you feel horribly guilty
And then you
after.
feel horribly guilty afterwards, exactly. So the longer you wait, the worse your decisions start to become, and the more we end up eating. And if you haven't eaten all day, you could probably justify having that big meal.
Right.
But because you haven't eaten, I haven't eaten anything all day, let me have this big meal. But is that the way that you want to go? Especially when you're coming home late and tired, and you're going to go to bed shortly after.
Not only that, you don't want to create that kind of pattern.
Right.
Correct.
Because eventually that doesn't lead to smart food choices.
Correct. I mean, over long term, what happens is, we have to remember that when we actually eat, we give our metabolism work to do. So it needs to break down the food. We're actually activating our calorie burning center. So we want to be eating so that we're actually burning calories. If we chronically fast, I skip breakfast and lunch and I only have dinner, and I do that over a period of weeks, months, years, my metabolism has slowed down to the point where it only expects food at one certain amount of time. So there's no need to be burning calories during the rest of the time.
Absolutely. Now, coming up, Kathy and Natasha will share their tips for dining out. And if you're living in the fast lane and there are healthy options at fast foods restaurants, we're going to find out. They'll tell you their health suggestions at the drive-thru, so don't go away. You're watching the Health Channel, all health, all the time, on South Florida PBS. If you have a question for Kathy and Natasha, please call in using the toll-free number, 855-796-4475. And please be sure to visit our website, allhealthtv.com, where you can watch videos from previous episodes or submit questions for the experts. We'll be right back.
If you're not paying attention to your bank's interest rate, you might be getting shortchanged.
The average interest rate on savings accounts is 0.08%, but some of the largest financial institutions pay as little as 0.01%.
Online banks like Ally have the highest rates of return at a whopping 1.90%.
As an online bank with no physical branches, we're able to pass that savings back to our customers through consistently competitive rates.
On an average $5,000 savings account, that could mean the difference between earning 50 cents or $100. For more, go to ally.com.
C stands for courage, collaboration, compassion, and sometimes even cuddly. At Miami Cancer Institute, C also stands for Cure, world-class cancer care right here at home. Learn more at miamicancerinstitute.com.
It is the most amazing gift that you can give someone. Seeing individuals have an opportunity of their lives that they would never have again.
The purpose of clinical research is to help understand how the human body works and how health and disease come about. So we want to understand what makes good health.
I think women's participation in clinical trials is extremely important because we have an entirely different set of issues, whatever body system you're working with, it's different from a man and from a child. So there are certainly differences there that we need to understand and focus and realize that are specific to women.
Science has shown and taught us that men and women are different in a variety of ways beyond the obvious differences. Our organs are different, our level of our hormones are different, we respond to treatments and medications differently. Based on those findings, every single cell in a woman or a man's body is a male or a female cell, and those cells respond differently to different triggers, to different treatments, and to the environment.
Welcome back to the Health Channel, all health, all the time. I'm Kathy Buccio. And with us is Kathy Clark Reyes and Natasha Borrajo, registered dietitian at Baptist Health, South Florida. If you have a question for Kathy and Natasha, please call in using the toll-free number 855-796-4475. We'd love to hear from you. Now, Americans eat out a lot, and according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, 48% of the money spent on food in this country pays for meals eaten away from homes, and studies link eating out with obesity. Now, we consume more saturated fat and fewer nutrients such as calcium and fiber than at home. But there are things we can do to help us eat healthy and on the go, reducing the risk or manage heart disease, diabetes, or high blood pressure. And you guys are going to show us how we do that, right?
Yes.
So how do you do that? Is it possible to eat healthy at a fast food restaurant?
You can make better choices.
Better choices, okay.
Yes. You have to understand that if you are preparing something at home, piece of chicken with some vegetables,
okay,
and you're eating the same food at the restaurant, they're going to put more stuff in the food. All right. Whether they add more seasonings or they add a little more salt or they add a little more olive oil or butter, there's going to be more in that meal. So even if you're making healthy choices, you're still better off eating at home. However, life has brought us out to dinner.
Right.
You know, we tend to pick up more food, whether it's lunch or dinner or breakfast. I mean, we see people that eat out 3 times a day.
Yes.
You know, or that practically eat out for a living, whether they're entertaining clients or whatnot. So it's important that when you do eat out, it's not a moment to splurge and say, oh, what the heck, I'm eating out. Let me get whatever I feel like it. That's the time to say, it's a Monday, it's lunch. Let me, you know, what would I eat if I was eating at home?
Right.
And then try to pick something accordingly. And the better the choices, the better your long-term goals are going to be health-wise.
Absolutely, and maybe go for that hearty salad, maybe go for a very light appetizer, and maybe skip dessert, but we're gonna get into all that. But early in the show, we were talking about life getting in the way of our eating. Our days are rushed. Sometimes it's impossible to sit down and eat a home-cooked meal. So how do we steer away from fast foods at restaurants that are high in fat, sodium, sugar, calories, basically all the bad things? How do we do that?
So one of my favorite tips that I like giving my patients is, okay, so if we don't have time to cook at home, and right now I'm trying to get you on the road of healthy living, I offer them a healthy meal delivery service. It actually might help put you on a budget because let's face it, when we order food, we're spending $30, $40 depending on the size of our family. If we do a healthy meal delivery service, I know how much that meal is gonna cost me day in, day out. So we can use that as a resource.
Right.
And while it might fit into my lifestyle right now, maybe a week or a month from now, it won't. And I like to always keep those kind of tools like on the back burner. Maybe now this week I have time to meal prep, so I'm gonna cook. I'm gonna have things easily available. Next week is crazy. I've got recital, this, that, and the other thing. So let me do the healthy meal delivery service. So keep taking tools out of your toolbox to keep making healthy choices.
That's a great point, and it's true. When you have kids, your social calendar, I mean, where does the time go?
Right.
And one of the things that I find interesting, Kathy, is even when you go to fast food places or you're dining out, you still have to be verbal. So maybe because there's so much salt and sodium in these processed foods. So why is there so much salt and sodium in processed foods?
Let's face it, fat, salt, and sugar make food taste good.
Right.
You know, our palates want that. That's many times what we crave. And the restaurants want you to come back.
Right.
So they add these things that are going to make the food taste good. Now, I always tell patients, don't be limited by a restaurant's menu. There's always changes that you can make. If you see a vegetable in this entree, but you want to match it with, you know, the fish on this entree, you can pair that.
Or
as long as it's on
right.
the menu, they're probably more than likely to give it to you.
Absolutely.
And for the most part, I'm not going to say 100% of restaurants, but many, many restaurants will offer a healthy choice. Is it what you might want to eat when you first look at the menu? You might be drawn to the fried calamari, but there's always an option for you.
Right, absolutely. And we have to definitely go into and explore these options of healthier eating. And it's much easier when you go to a fast food options, when you're sitting that drive-through, to supersize a meal.
Oh, God.
And I think that's a problem with our country. We like to supersize everything, and its portion size is huge.
Right.
Absolutely.
Literally.
In fact, when you can't control the quality of the food, you always have control over the quantity.
Okay.
So downsizing on those burgers. You don't need the quad stack that's probably this big. You can go with a smaller burger. In fact, that's what used to be served 30, 40 years ago. You used to have a small, almost a hamburger like
a
from the kids'
slider.
menu.
Yes.
Yes. And as time has gone by, people want the value meals, and the portions have gotten bigger and bigger.
Because it feels like they're getting more for their buck, but you're really paying with it by
with your health.
with
Absolutely.
your health.
When you look
Yes.
at it, maybe I'm not paying on that fast food line, but I'll be paying maybe 5-10 years at the pharmacy. So again, you have to. We're always going to end up paying. You choose how you wish to spend your money.
Absolutely. Now, okay, let's pretend we're having a sit-down meal at a fancy restaurant. Let's start with the first thing our server asks. What would you like to drink? What should your answer be?
Let's backtrack a second. How often do you go to the fancy restaurant?
Okay, you go to a fancy restaurant, at least I do maybe like once every 2 weeks if I want to have a date night with my husband. Okay.
The more often you go out, and this we have a lot of people that may be entertained for a living, they're at fancy restaurants all the time.
Right.
So you want to ask yourself, how often do I get to have this meal? If this is a treat, and it is truly, truly a treat, and this is hardly ever happens, then go ahead and treat yourself.
Right.
But if this is something, like you're saying, every couple of weeks you're going to these places, you want to hunker down and make better choices.
Okay, that's a good point. And with that being said, I'm at that fancy restaurant. What do I want to drink? Water.
Yeah, absolutely.
Water. You could do lemon water.
Exactly. Club soda, I like asking for a little sparkling so that at least there's a little fizz. The lemon, I love putting lemon in my water to give it a little flavor. Absolutely.
If it is that kind of night, you know, and you want to have an alcoholic beverage, I would just say keep it simple. Keep it simple with a glass of wine. Try not to get anything too big and fruity and, you know, these big pina coladas or margaritas that have 500 calories. So just keep it as simple as you can. And
Now,
moderation, of course.
And And now after we have our water and maybe a glass of wine, the server will ask us, what appetizer would you like? Now, what are we looking for when it comes to appetizers?
I mean, you want to try to stay away from the fried. At least that's what I do. Thankfully, I guess I've gotten my husband on board that we will like to share a salad.
Yes.
So that way we know that we're getting that fiber-rich vegetable that we so much need.
Good tip.
And then when it comes to our entree, we feel a little bit more free in order to choose what we want off that menu and not just, oh, I have to eat this because it's only 500 calories. No, enjoy what you're eating. And then again, like to Kathy's point, even though you had already a vegetable, you can never have enough vegetables. I will very often have that
Remember the
salad.
Baptist plate, half
Absolutely,
the plate.
absolutely. I'll look for more vegetables. And even if, I'm at the Italian restaurant and I want the fettuccine Alfredo because maybe I was a little emotional stress eating, I will maybe ask for the server to bring me a to-go container so I can maintain my portion so I don't go overboard just because I know that I might be stress eating. So, helpful tips like that. Ask for the to-go menu, put half of it away, out of sight, out of mind. You concentrate on this and have your vegetable.
I learned that when one of your other dietitians was on the show, and I thought it was a genius idea
Absolutely.
to ask for the go-to container and just divide from there, from the beginning, and just eat what you didn't put away. Okay, now Kathy, this is where things get a little dicey, the entree. So what am I looking for when it comes to the entree?
With the entree, I try to tell patients to steer away from the pasta dish, the big dish, because what you're probably going to get there is a large portion, which many times can be a platter of pasta.
Yes, and depending on the restaurant you go to, they just lay it on.
You may get a very large portion.
Right.
Now, we still would like to eat pasta every once in a while, but you can ask for a side dish of pasta, if anything. Otherwise, I like to opt for dishes that are more a lean protein and a vegetable,
So like
whether
a
it's a fish or a chicken or a piece of turkey, even something like a pork loin or a sirloin. It's a leaner cut of meat versus something that's fattier, or the ribs, or chicken wings,
Right.
things like that.
And even when you ask for the chicken, you can even request for it to be maybe grilled, have it sauteed, or something not use so much salt. Is this true?
Right. As you're skimming through the menu, you always want to look at the method of preparation.
Right.
You want to stay away from anything that's fried, deep fried, anything, and look for descriptive words. Creamy, rich. That's going to show that they're using a heavy, cream-based sauce. Better options would be something that's more broth-based. You can always ask for sauces and dressings on the side. Whether it's a salad or it's even an entree, always ask for those things on the side, because that way you control how much how much you're consuming versus the chef in the back. The chef in the back doesn't know that there's someone in his restaurant trying to be healthy and conscious about his or her eating habits, but you are. So trying to have things on the side would be the best option.
And to make a note on that, when you have something like broccoli and you see broccoli cheese or cream of broccoli, just because it's broccoli doesn't necessarily mean it's healthy.
Right. Steer away from all of the sauces and all the stuff that gets put on top. The cream spinach sounds great, but when we start adding the cream and the fat and the cheese and everything that goes inside there, you now have a very expensive, calorically expensive side dish.
Now let's dessert. We have our our patrons who have their sweet tooth and they want to enjoy a slice of key lime pie or tiramisu, but should we be skipping dessert altogether?
Not always. Again, if it's that special occasion, absolutely. If it's my birthday, I am having a piece of cake. Absolutely, right?
Right.
And when it's that, the chronic going out, that's definitely when you want to skip the dessert. If the sweet tooth is very heavy, maybe try, looking for fruit. Sometimes they have berries. That can also serve satisfying the sweet tooth. Worst case scenario, try to split it. Try not to finish the dessert. Take one bite and maybe that's it.
That's a good point. Now, don't go away, because coming up, we're talking about what some people may think is a fad, but it's actually a great way to create grab-and-go meals for the week. We're going to talk about meal prep when we come back. You're watching the Health Channel, all health, all the time, on South Florida PBS. If you have a question for us, please call the number at 855-796-4475. We'll be right back.
was too young to get a mammogram, and I had no family history, and the lump was probably just nothing.
And I sat in that waiting room talking to women, and there were about 10 of us, and I casually joked with another woman, I can't believe that 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed in breast cancer. There are 10 of us in this room today.
Yo sabía que iba a regresar positivo.
I insisted on getting a biopsy. When I heard my grandmother was sick, I knew I had to take care of her more instead of her taking care of me.
I heard the 3 most horrific words anybody could ever hear. You have cancer.
My initial reaction when I was diagnosed is, I'm gonna die. Oh my goodness, I'm going to die, and I'm gonna leave my 2 young daughters behind.
I had a 4 and an 8-year-old and a husband to grow old with. And I didn't think that I thought my life was over.
Cuando tuve que llamar a mi mamá, ahí fue real.
If it comes back and you've done everything you can, at least you can turn to your boys and say, I did everything I could.
And so a couple weeks after my diagnosis, I had a double mastectomy.
They were giving me life-changing, devastating news, but at the same time, they were giving me a plan. Okay, this is what we have. This is how we're going to treat it.
I felt very blessed to be here in Miami and to have a network of doctors.
Cancer treatment is ugly. The way Baptist treats you as a person is beautiful.
When you finish radiation, you ring a bell. Pretty much the entire staff of MCI showed up.
I just knew in my gut that I was going to be okay.
Your dream team is out there.
Escogimos un team divino. Las siento como unas personas, como amigas, más que doctores.
If I waited, I wouldn't be here today. Early detection is incredibly important. Know your body. Go into your doctor, get the mammogram, get checked.
I can't stress enough how important it is to be your own advocate.
Early detection saved my life. Embrace tomorrow.
Programe su mamografía hoy.
Abrace el mañana.
Schedule your mammogram today.
Welcome back to the Health Channel, all health, all the time. I'm Kathy Buccio. And with us is Kathy Clark Reyes and Natasha Borrajo, registered dietitians at Baptist Health, South Florida. If you have a question for Kathy and Natasha, please call in using the toll-free number 855-796-4475. We'd love to hear from you. Now we're also joined by a special guest, Kaye Alexander. He's been on NBC's competition show called American Ninja Warrior and is a big proponent of eating a plant-based diet to help fuel his workout. So thanks for joining us, Kaye.
Thanks for having me.
Excited to hear your story and what you got to offer. Now, tell me, what about the plant-based diet or meal prepping? Actually, I want to go first start with meal prepping. I think that's important. So what is meal prepping and the grab and go, the concept that you were talking about?
So again, for me, it always starts in the grocery store. So buying that grab and go, either vegetable or fruit, so that you can travel with something. When it comes to meal prepping at home, Kathy actually told me this slogan: when your hands are dirty, just make double. So if you got home and maybe you didn't meal prep on Sunday or Saturday, it's Monday night, you're cooking some chicken breast. Well, instead of putting 2, put 4. And now at least you have lunch for the next day.
Right.
So when your hands are dirty, maximize so that you don't have to, keep getting them dirty. So little things like that can go a long way when it comes to meal prepping.
So what do people meal prep to begin with?
Different things. One of the things that we find is that when people do tend to meal prep, they may prepare the same food for the whole week.
Right.
They might prepare the same brown rice or quinoa with the same vegetable and the same, protein, whatever it may be, and then they'll eat that all week long. So one of the things that I find is that people get bored. By Friday, you're like, this thing again, and what you want to do is, and the other thing that they say is that it's kind of daunting. You spend, you block off an entire Sunday or Saturday to prepare all of these meals. And while it's fantastic in theory, but what happens if something happens on Sunday and you lose your meal prep day? Does that mean that that's going to ruin you for the rest of the week? Right. So these are the things that you have to keep in mind when you're meal prepping. Right. So breaking it down into simpler meal prepping is not as daunting, not as overwhelming. One thing you might want to do is maybe anytime, to Natasha's point, anytime you cook something, just make a double batch. You can always freeze it. It doesn't mean that you have to have it tomorrow and the next day and the next day.
You can have it
next week or the following week. That way, and then eventually you start building up a stash of things that you've got available that you can serve.
Good point. Now I want to switch gears, and Kaye, I want to talk about your story. And I know that you do meal prep with your vegan food. So can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Meal prepping, I mean, it's very simple for me. People might think that it's vegan makes it a lot more difficult at times, but really it's the same thing. Just being able to find different flavors that you like. Once that happens, it becomes a habit. You don't think about it anymore. So I go home when I want to meal prep, and let's say I want something sweet for breakfast. I can do like oatmeal or chia pudding, something like that. And then at lunch, I'm thinking something like Mexican, so maybe some like tacos, burritos. And maybe for dinner, I want something Italian, so I can think of something like maybe pasta based, So it's just a matter of what I'm feeling, and trying to find easier recipes, something that doesn't take too long in the kitchen, so that I don't dedicate one entire day to just meal prepping.
Absolutely. Now, what got you on your path to being a vegan? Was there something that changed that for you?
Yeah, I was dating this girl, and I was never like an animal lover or anything. It was my girlfriend at the time that she was really interested in it. And I didn't really get it, but I wanted to show my support, so I decided to try it for her, try it with her. Long story short, I ended up going on a very processed vegan diet. It wasn't very healthy. Felt good though, so I continued with it, and then I eventually found a whole foods plant-based diet. So being vegan just tells me what you don't eat, so you're not eating animal products. But you can be eating Oreos, French fries, and sweetest fish and still be vegan, and that's the problem. So I promote a whole foods plant-based diet, and when you have that as the bulk of your diet, you're eating nutrient-dense foods, anti-inflammatory foods. You're getting phytonutrients. You're getting so many benefits when the bulk is just based around whole plant food. So now that I'm on that type of diet, I've seen, I feel so much better. I feel great. I mean, there's just so many benefits to that.
You're getting the nods from the Baptist dietitian, so I'm assuming they give the seal of approval on that one. Do you?
Absolutely. Yeah, eating whole plants is the way to go. And he made a wonderful point. You can be vegan, but eating the Oreos. So am I really getting the nutrients that I want?
Anti-calories.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, so I think a lot of people wonder, how do you meal prep on a budget? Because they think, oh, if I'm going to go vegan or if I want to get healthier, it's going to cost me so much more money. So how do you meal prep on a budget?
I would say start off with seasonal produce. If you're buying the fruits and the vegetables, start with something seasonal. If anything is out of season, it's going to cost double the price. It's going to come from the other side of the world. They have to ship it. There's a lot more cost involved to it. If you're buying local and you're buying seasonal, the cost is already going to start coming down. Right. Shopping from farmers markets is also a way to find good local produce at a reduced cost. Even if you have to buy frozen vegetables, we had a little display earlier with frozen vegetables. It's okay to get them as long as they're not creamed spinach or broccoli with cheese sauce.
And I heard the frozen vegetables actually are very high in nutrients as well.
They are.
Absolutely.
Because they're picked at its ripest state and then they're flash frozen right away, so it locks in that freshness. And it's almost as good as buying frozen. I mean, excuse me, buying fresh.
Right.
So it does help bring down your food costs a little bit.
Now, Kaye, what are some of your favorite meals to prep?
My favorite is chia pudding. I think it's so simple and delicious. It can be a breakfast, it can be a dessert. Really simple. Just put like one serving, for example, is like 4.5 tablespoons of chia seeds in any container, usually like a jar. Put in 1.5 cups of any plant-based milk of your choosing, almond milk, cashew milk, soy milk, coconut milk, anything that you like. A sweetener of your choosing. I like date syrup. I think, in my opinion, that's the healthiest sweetener, but that's not so easily available. So either, maybe like a tablespoon of agave or maple syrup to get some sweetness. Easy, right there. Shake it up, go put it in the fridge, and it turns into this really creamy pudding consistency. You can add even more flavor if you want. You can put chocolate, peanut butter, top it with something crunchy like nuts and seeds, and then you have such a nutrient-dense meal right there. It's super easy to make. It's
And
like
it sounds
5
really
minutes.
filling at the same time.
Oh yeah, a bunch of healthy fats, omega-3s. Really, the healthy fats keeps you satiated. So I like to always combine any carbohydrates with healthy fats like chia seeds, nuts, avocados, something like that. So.
Now, Kathy and Natasha, for someone, let's say, that has never meal prepped, watching the show, they want to start doing it. It does sound a little bit like it's a lot of work, but it really isn't. So how do we make meal prepping easier, whether you're a vegetarian, whether you're a vegan? How can we do that? How do we start?
So I would start with planning. So, and you don't have to do the whole week. To get started, maybe meal prep, 3 days or 2 days. What are you gonna make for those days? Are you gonna have time to cook for those days? We had mentioned about the grilling of the vegetables. So my favorite way to meal prep is actually on that grill. And even though I am not vegan, I will grill my, my animal protein, and I'll have a variety. Maybe I'll have a lean pork chop. I will have chicken breast. I will have fish. I will have salmon. I might even have shrimp, all on the grill, cooking all at the same time.
Right, the grilled vegetables.
And yes, absolutely.
Let's not forget our carrots or asparagus or Brussels sprouts.
Well, it's first the meat, and now here come the veggies. Absolutely. So I'm using the same thing. I'm not getting multiple pots and pans dirty, not a lot of cleanup required, and I'm eating a variety. I'm eating a variety of proteins. I'm having a variety of vegetables that I'm grilling, the broccoli, the cauliflower, zucchini. So many things can be grilled and have that wonderful, maybe charred flavor if you're looking for that. So it's really easy and convenient.
And it really does sound tasty. And I mean, it's so conducive for families as well. Wouldn't you say, Kathy?
Yes, absolutely, because you're able to put everything all together at once. When you're meal prepping for the whole family, you have something ready when you come home. And that's a nice thing. You don't have to come home and think, oh my gosh, what am I going to feed you people? There's already something that's there.
Right.
And so that's always helpful to know. Not only that, if you are planning out your meals, you know exactly what you're going to have today. And instead of being at work all day long thinking, what's for dinner, what's for dinner, what's for dinner, I'm thinking, I'm having chicken with vegetables, and it makes your food decisions better.
Now, Kaye, as a ninja warrior, I'm so impressed. So when you were competing for American Ninja Warrior, how did your meals change, or I don't know, maybe they didn't change throughout your workouts or through your participation in the show?
Yeah, definitely not too much of a difference. I mean, my diet stays the same year round. I mean, there's specific meals that I'll have before a competition or after training that help with recovery, give me more energy, specifically for athletic performance.
Right.
But for the most part, I love smoothie bowls. I think smoothies are a great way to get
bowls.
Yeah, so you can make a smoothie and just drink it. I think that's easier, but for me, I like to take a little bit more time and thicken out my smoothie so it's a little bit less liquid, more of like the frozen frozen dark leafy greens, and it gives it more like an ice cream-like consistency. And the problem with smoothies is a lot of people just down it really quick, and then they get this huge sugar, intake in their body, and sometimes the body doesn't know how to handle it well. Whereas if you eat your smoothies, and like the way I do it, it's a little bit more gradual, so your body can digest it a little bit better, and you enjoy it more. I feel like when I drink smoothies, I have 800 calories in like 2 seconds. Whereas if I eat a smoothie, I can really enjoy it. I can top it with, again, like nuts and seeds, and have a really like complete meal.
Amazing. We're going to talk more about that after. Now, so we heard a little bit about meal prepping, but when we come back, we're going to continue talking to Kaye about how his food actually fuels his workout. And we'll also talk to Kathy and Natasha about some of the best nutrition options for athletes. You're watching the Health Channel. All health, all the time on South Florida PBS. If you have a question for Kathy, Natasha, or Kaye, please call in using the toll-free number 855-796-4475. And please be sure to visit our website, allhealthtv.com, where you can watch videos from previous episodes or submit questions for the experts. We'll be right back.
Worried about keeping your brain sharp as you age? Studies show that these 4 steps may help. Stay physically active. Strive for 2.5 hours of moderate exercise weekly. Reduce vascular risk factors like high blood pressure and cholesterol with good diet, adequate sleep, and medication when necessary. Talk to your doctor about diseases and drugs that may impair brain function, and keep your brain lively with social and intellectual pursuits. For more information, visit dana.org.
Each year, an estimated 12,000 women are diagnosed with cervical cancer. Thanks to improved screening and vaccination, cervical cancer is a highly preventable and treatable cancer. Early detection is key. Women should pay close attention to their cervical health by following these guidelines. Start testing at age 21. Women between ages 21 and 29 should have a Pap test done every 3 years. Women between the ages of 30 and 65 should have a Pap test plus an HPV test done every 5 years. A woman who has been vaccinated against HPV should still follow the screening recommendations for her age group. Your particular health history may dictate a different screening schedule for cervical cancer. Contact your primary care physician to talk about your history and schedule your next screening today.
Welcome back to the Health Channel, all health, all the time. I'm Kathy Buccio, and with us is Kathy Clark Reyes and Natasha Borrajo, registered dietitians at Baptist Health South Florida. If you have a question for Kathy and Natasha, please call in using the toll-free number 855-796-4475. We'd love to hear from you. Now we're also joined by a special guest, Kaye Alexander. He's not only an athlete, but he's actually been on NBC's show Ninja Warrior and is a big proponent of eating a plant-based diet to help fuel his energy levels and his workout. So basically, you're fueled by plants.
Yeah.
Is this true?
Yeah.
All those hard, intense workouts you do, not just for the show, but for your everyday life, are fueled by plants.
Yeah, all plants, 100%.
Wow. Okay, so how do you change your workouts? How does it affect your sleep? I want to know how your plant-based diet works overall in your life.
Honestly, as soon as I switched over to the whole foods plant-based diet, originally I felt some symptoms of maybe some weakness or some energy levels dip, and that was happened like maybe the first month. And it happens. I think my body was just adjusting to the big change that I did, because growing up I didn't eat very healthy, so I think this big change my body had to adapt. And when it did, I immediately felt my energy levels rise. I felt my performance in the gym rise. And the biggest thing is recovery. I think a lot of athletes negate recovery because it's so important, and people like to work super hard in the gym, but afterward they don't take care of their bodies.
Right.
And I think nutrition has a big role in recovery for athletes. And if you can recover faster, you can pretty much fit in more workouts. You can come in more fresh and even get stronger when you recover faster. So one thing I noticed immediately was my recovery when I started, after my workouts, I was coming back stronger and making even more gains. So, so many benefits from this diet.
And I think as an athlete, it's also important to get that sleep that your body needs. And how did your sleep change when your diet changed?
Yeah, that's a great point. I forgot to mention that. It was more efficient. I used to sleep 8-9 hours, and I would always think I needed that. And I ended up sleeping more toward the 6-hour range. And I think I was sleeping very deeply. And I think when you can sleep more efficiently, you have that extra hour in the day.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but I'm watching this video of you plugging this thing on and you're using all your muscle energy.
Yeah.
You're putting us to shame with that. That's insane.
It's a lot of work and a lot of eating and a lot of plant eating.
And a lot of plant eating. Yes, let's leave it to the plants. Natasha and Kathy, when you hear Kaye talk about his plant-based diet, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier. That sort of fuels him to be a better athlete. So is that often the case? Does this kind of diet help more often in creating better athletes?
Yes, absolutely. So I think underestimate the power of those plants, and that's really where we get. He mentioned some keywords. Those phytonutrients that we get are essential, especially for his recovery. And if you're just eating the animal protein, you're not going to get that. So you want to be able to have those plants in order to fully fuel your body with everything that it's going to need in order to perform at the level that he has it performing.
And that's a great point. Now, which foods, Kathy, help fuel a workout?
Before the workout, you want to make sure you're having a carbohydrate source. So something like a fruit, maybe even, and it depends also on how long you're going to be doing your sport, what type of sport you're doing. Are you going to be bouncing around? Because that's going to determine what you're going to eat. You want something that is going to fuel properly, but is not going to mess up your digestion.
Right.
So are you going to need something for the long run? Are you running a long marathon, or is this a quick event? If it's a quick event, something like a fruit bowl or maybe like your smoothie that you make, that might be a good high carbohydrate source. And then after the workout, you want to make sure you're getting in some protein. And it can definitely be plant-based protein, absolutely. And you also want to recover with a little bit of the carbohydrate that you lost throughout the workout.
Now, Kathy and Natasha, one of the biggest misconceptions, I think, especially when someone runs marathons or is doing a long workout, they want to load up on those carbs and they think it's an excuse to gorge on that pasta, have all that bread. But actually, this isn't helpful to a workout or for an athlete, true?
You cannot train a bad diet.
Okay.
All right. So no matter how much you run, you need to eat what you need to eat. You don't need, a massive amount of pasta before a big race. You need to have a modest amount. And sometimes even one mistake that people make is that they've tried something new on race day.
Right.
And you don't want to try anything new on race day. You want to try something that is tried and true, that you know you're going to do well during your event, during your workout, because the last thing you're going to want is an upset stomach because they put too much cream in your pasta.
Right. Now, when you're vegetarian or vegan, especially when you're exerting so much energy while you're working out, should there be a concern with your sugar levels getting too low?
How do you feel?
Me? Yes.
I was asking the athlete.
I think a lot of the misconceptions out there about the vegan diet is because of the vegan diet. Like I said before, vegans, you're telling me what you're not eating. And so when you have a diet not centered around whole plant foods, I think it's very easy to, become deficient in a few things and feels bad in certain ways, maybe with hypoglycemia, stuff like that. But when you look at people who eat a whole foods plant-based diet as the bulk of the meal, I think you'll find that it's very rare to find these types of problems in the diet.
Now, let me ask you, Kaye, can you walk us through a day in your nutritional life? Okay. So if you wake up in the morning, are you having that chia pudding? Walk me through your day of what you're eating.
Yeah, so morning, definitely. I do a little bit of fasting, intermittent fasting. So I usually push my meal a little bit later. But my first meal will usually be either like a smoothie bowl. It could be the chia pudding. It can be, I don't know, a chickpea omelet, tofu scrambled, anything like that. It's savory or sweet, depending on what I want. Something in the afternoon could be something like Mexican, like a burrito bowl, something like that. It could be a salad, something light. And then for dinner, it could be...
What do you put in your salad, by the way?
It depends. I mean, a lot, definitely dark leafy greens, I think, are super important, super nutrient dense. You want leafy greens every day. With anything savory, I think you always should be adding dark leafy greens. And definitely you want to have a great source of fat. So it can be avocado dressing or something with tahini, nuts and seeds, also, more texture, more crunch in that salad.
Those mason jars make for some good meal prepping.
Yeah, they do.
Our Baptist dietitians love them too.
For dinner, it could be a stir fry. It could be a soup. It could be a vegan BLT. It could be so many different things. And then for dessert, fruit is king. I have a Yonanas machine that makes ice cream out of like any frozen fruit that you want. Amazing. Dates are nature's like caramel. Like there's the sweetest fruit that you can find. And yeah, that's usually what I eat.
It's amazing. Now, Kathy and Natasha, listening to that diet, are those proponents that you encourage as well?
Absolutely. I tell my patients, try to at least... So for the non-vegans, I tell them, try to at least make one meal a plant-based meal. And usually, I don't know, for me, I find breakfast is the easiest way to do that. So absolutely, look for the plant in your meal. And I mean, he's definitely hitting all the points.
I would suggest adding beans. You had beans.
Well, he said
Oh, yeah.
the
Okay.
Mexican burritos, and I
That's it, yeah.
assumed.
Yeah, I think beans.
I assumed beans
Super
were in
cheap,
there.
super
Super beans,
nutritious.
high
Like-
fiber.
Lentils,
Yeah.
garbanzos,
Yeah.
chickpeas,
Yeah.
kidney beans.
How often should we be having those? Every day you can have that?
You could.
Yeah,
You could?
absolutely.
Oh, okay. Now, to sort of recap everything that we've discussed in this hour, what is a takeaway for our viewers at home? Whether we're, like we said, we're busy, we're living in the fast lane, our lives, social calendars, kids. What's an easy way? What is the takeaway here?
Simplify.
Simplify.
Simplify as best as possible. Take it one meal at a time. Yes, you want to plan, but when life gets crazy, ask yourself, how can I make this meal in front of me healthier?
Absolutely.
And what can I do to make, whether you're at a restaurant or whether you're at home, should I control the portion? Should I make a better change? Just simplify. It doesn't have to be difficult. Sometimes we make it so daunting
get overwhelmed,
that
right?
we ourselves procrastinate. We get overwhelmed, but keep it simple.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for being here, Kathy, Natasha, and Kaye. And thank you for sharing your story with us. It's amazing. And good luck on your next challenge for American Ninja
Thank you so
Warrior.
much.
That's all the time that we have for today. But be sure to join us next time on the Health Channel. All Health, all the time on South Florida PBS. And follow us on Facebook and Twitter at All Health TV, where you can get health tips from our experts and see what's coming up next on the Health Channel. You can also visit our website, allhealthtv.com, to submit questions for the experts or watch videos from previous episodes. I'm Kathy Buccio. I'll see you next time.